Hello. Sound check. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Ken. Hi, Short. You guys can hear me all right? And we're live, everybody. For all three of you in the chat, thanks for supporting our first ever live stream. A little sound check here. Can you guys hear me? So, I might as well dabble into this live streaming thingamajig. It's the first time, as we've noted, but we want to mention a few things that we'd like to talk about. But first of all, thanks, Ian, for being here. Ian Mao. Also short, Peter C. Cowboy Swami. Hi, nice to see you. Hello, everyone. Anyone in the chat, if you want a watch for me to talk about, just mention it in the chat and I'll try to pull up the image and then let's try and talk about it. Yeah. But first, we're going to talk about a little something that I prepared. Well, it's not really well prepared content, but it's good enough, I should say. Hey there. Hey, Ken. How are you? And Thomas also is here. So let's look back at the year 2020 for a moment. 2020 is really, let's just say, an interesting year for all of us to be in, to experience. We're going to try and not talk about like the economics of watches because that's really not our content and our audience. But of course, I mean, it's inevitable we talk about them nonetheless. In short, watches had so many changes in the past year. Of course, the first big one was that Basel World got canceled or renamed or whatever. Hi, Tennessee Mike. Hi, Junior. Nice to have you guys. Hey, Joseph. Nice to have you. And thanks for the well wishes. Thank you so much. Hey, Oleg. How are you? Nice to see you in the stream. Okay. So, many of the watches and many of the brands have gone online, and that's basically what we're probably going to see in the next few months and years. Um, Even Tim Masso was already citing that this has been going on for a while now, and Basil World being canceled just accelerated the process altogether. And we see Breitling going online, which is a nice thing. It's something that we could actually support because that's the future. That's what we're going to do soon. But what we could see in during the year, we saw an influx of interests that and first of all, personally, the watch for me for the year, to most of you it's not really uh, a secret. It's actually the Moser Streamliner, and the Streamliner really um, made considerable noise. Not in the watch industry. It's not. It's still relegated to the watch industry, as we have seen in the year. But the Moser really introduced like something really refreshing for us. Mainly, it's because really of the bracelet that this bracelet right here truly is remarkable. The wave pattern, it's not really original either, and that pattern we've seen that before in other watches. But the way that the Streamliner integrates that with their with their green dial and the very minimalist style of their dial altogether, and couple that with a very nice movement, it's really something that uh, made splash during the year. It's something also that we would like to um see more in the watch industry. It felt refreshing. It felt original, even though it's not. And of course, during the year, we saw how Rolex released a bunch of Submariners and a bunch of other models that we want to recap. But especially, we're seeing green again. You know, the Submariner with the discontinuation of the Hulk obviously made waves in the speculated market as well. But right now, it's also picking up. The new one, the Kermit, is also something that's picking up in interest at the moment. We don't want to talk about values because that's also another thing that's totally uh, for the experts, not our thing, of course. But it's nice to see that green is really picking up. It's the new black in a way. Going back to the Moser, we saw that the win of the Streamliner flyback in the Grand Prix of Horology, and it's just a beauty. I know that it's also exclusive to Moser, this movement made by Angenor, but it's such a breathtaking movement. And for someone who has 40 grand, that would be amazing to own. And being able to uh, reproduce this also in blue fume dial. Again, that fume, that gradient from blue to black is just gorgeous. Yeah, and making that flyback complication with the bullhead setup, that's also something of a winner for me. I personally like bullheads, even though haven't owned a bullhead chronograph yet, but soon we'll see that. In the past week, though, in the past weeks, we've seen also an influx of red watches, which is kind of interesting because seeing that green and red is really complementary and harmonious in some way, but red on gold, that's now something that we are seeing in the recent releases. These two complement very much. The red and the gold complement very much, and you could see that the watch companies know that. If you could just look at Rado with the recent Captain Cook, with the dual phase Fagliano from JLC, you see the rose gold and the red. That's also something that we want to see so much. It's really because our eyes are trained to be that, and even us in the field of merchandising, we actually use this kind of strategy. We use red as something to attract. It's not a cliche to say the in short, but red really is scientifically proven to attract a lot of attention. You see McDonald's and their yellow arch, of course. Um, it's something that's really visually striking. But put it together with gold and yellow, it's a winner. And of course, we've seen that with the Oris Fratello collaboration. And we see here a shout out for Random Rob and his very, very nice shot of the Squale 1521. That's a winner, also. That's a winner. And these combinations, look at this fume. This fume dial from red to black. It's just amazing in person. I mean, the picture in itself is already striking, but you see that in person, there's no comparison. And I experienced that personally here with this one right here. Let's focus it on. Let's try to turn this off first. Maybe that'll do it. Yeah, there you go. And this dial from Zelos, the black tip, this really is striking in person. And I cannot put into words how, well, I tried at the very least in my review, but it's such a deep color. And in the car world, we can approach this in a way of coating the car in 6 or 7 different layers. Yeah, we start off with a black, and then silver, and then the actual tone, which is red or whatever color that you want, and then layer upon layers of clear coat. I don't know how they achieve this on a watch, but it has that deep red and black and silver tone to it. It's just amazing to look at, and also in certain light angles, especially under natural light in the sun, it's just amazing. It lights up orange and yellow in so many different ranges of that color. It's really amazing. I love it. Now let's go back to the chat, and let's see what you guys have been saying. Oh, I need to keep up with the chat. Let's go back to the top a little bit. Bear with me here. This is the first time we're doing this, and thank you so much to all the well wishes of happy holidays and all that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, Personally, I don't celebrate Christmas, but I appreciate all the wishes, and hopefully we all can have a better year next year. We have suffered a lot this year, of course. Thomas Burnett says, let's start with the Zealous black tip that you have been wearing. How has it been? It's a daily wear for sure. Let's see. Let's switch to chat here. There we are. It's a daily wear for sure, and it has been, I think, a week. I've been wearing it for the whole week, and it's doing great. It's also remarkably durable for all of the stress that I put it on through, because I really did wear it for the whole year, the whole week, and it really held up. No scratches as of yet, which is nice. Peter C. I've been intrigued by the Torby Starry Evening. Torby Starry Evening. Let's try and see if we can pull that up. Torby Starry Evening. Okay. Let's see now. Torby watches. Let's do that. This seems to be new to me. Haken in Westfalen. What is that? Okay. Here we are. Oh, okay. Now, first thing this gives to me like a vibe of some sort of a Movado and a Moser in a way. It really actually reminds me more of Moser because of the hands. If we look at the hands, it's not Moser's hands or signature, of course, but we've seen this in many Moser models. Forgive me if I don't remember many of the Moser models. I'm going to do my research on that, and many people have been suggesting that, and hopefully I can own one in the future. You know, but the starry part here, I hope that this is a true starry and sparkly type of watch. And Let's see now. Whoa, that's a long block of text. I'm not gonna be able to read that. But the center, not center seconds, the independent seconds dial here is also very interesting. If we look at it, if we look at uh, the independent seconds dial, we see also that there's a tail in the on the hand, which is quite unusual. We've seen it before in other designs, but most of the time designers do this to balance out the hands in respects to the actual subdial or the actual dial itself. But this is interesting because there's nothing much to really balance it out. Yeah. Let's see if I can like hold that up. No. Let's try and pull this down. That is quite interesting because look at this. Normally, to balance a second's hand, right? You come from the center. Your eye starts from there and it leads up to the dial. To balance, there's going to be a lot of space here. Now, to balance that out, what would you do? You would like to have a really protruding tail for the second's hand, or for whatever hand it may be. We've seen this in some Ulysse Nardin and Breitling and some Breguet hands, and we've seen that. But this is quite interesting here because you don't see that. So why did they put like a tail there? Well, maybe just to basically have some sort of visual interest. But to me, that's really not that useful. You still have like a ton of negative space here. But I guess that's the whole point of the whole watch, because the watch really is to show like it's a simple, clean design, except for the starry parts. Okay, I rambled quite a bit there. Thank you so much, Peter C, for that. Uh, Jay Anderson is here from Vietnam. Thank you so much for tuning in, Jay. Daniel Wu, thank you also, Daniel, for helping me out with Watch. Although it didn't pan out, thanks for the effort nonetheless. And thanks for supporting the channel, Daniel, a real trooper. Nello5280 also says hello to everyone. Paul M is here. Joseph from Philly, B Philly, Watch fan. Thanks for tuning in. Rumor has it that the new Halios Universal will have a green dial similar to the British Racing Green. Ooh, British Racing Green, I love that. You know, and can't wait for that. Do they have images of that? Halios Green. Let's see. Halios Racing Green. Well, no images yet. It really is a rumor. We'll have to see. What else? In the 1970s, Frank Rizzo was the mayor of Philadelphia and painted all the police cars red because he wanted to bring rage to the scene. True story. Okay. Well, is it rage-inducing, red? It could be that, well, it evokes emotion, red, definitely. And it's now stereotypically represented or represents rage and anger, you know? And I guess it can be something that can influence people nowadays. If the police were all wearing, their cars are all painted in red, well, that is really striking when you see that across the street, you know? And yeah, true story, maybe it is weird. It is weird. Okay. Joe Rizzo, man, in South Philly. Yes. Okay, they're still thinking about you. Micros doing red dials. Yes. I actually had. Hold on a second. One moment. Okay, the chat is moving so fast. Okay. Well, my boys are telling me that the stream is a little choppy. I hope that we get that fixed somehow. Let me see. Yes, Engineer Wannabe is here also. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, Engineer. I've been loving your streams also, and your content is really nice. I wish I had access to Grand Seikos here in Aruba, but whew, it's really tough here to get anything, anything at all. That's a problem. Okay, what else? Casio Duro. Well, Oleg is the first one to mention Casio Duro. Let's see if I can pull up a Casio Duro. Casio Duro. Let's pull up the cam. Let's see if I could. Yeah, there we go. Casio Duro. Okay. Now the Casio Duro, I'll be honest here, has a love-hate relationship with me. Now why? First, as some of you may already know, I don't like my dates on the 3 o'clock. I prefer them in the 6. Why? Because it just makes it a little bit more symmetrical, you know. Oh, and a lot of buffering. Thanks, Peter C. Maybe it's the software that I'm using. Maybe it's ABS, or it's either that or my connection. I was thinking of switching to StreamYard, but maybe we'll do that next time. But going back to the Casio Duro, this is where balance happens in a symmetrical watch for me. No, from the 12 to 6, this is something that becomes like a meridian line for watches, and it's kind of like invisible too in some respects, because your mind sees it like a dividing point, but at the same time that also highlights the visual interest in between or besides each, you know. And that visually for a designer is something like of annoyance at times. You see here, look at what Casio tried to do. Look, they tried to at least narrow the gap with that window, but that window is like too big. You know? And the problem with that is that it also makes this dial a little bit, this side of the dial a little bit busier compared to this one, and then that imbalances out the whole thing. Now this half is a little bit more detailed compared to this half, and that is is a sort of a subliminal message that we show with our design with other people, and you could see this in other design things too. Say for example shoes. We've seen two different types of shoes, the ones that are really symmetrical to each other, and the other ones that are really trying to go veer the other direction, you know. When the other one is a different color compared to the other, they're really trying their best to differentiate the two halves. But in a watch, it's hard to do, because you want to give the whole face as a uniform ideal. And in the Casio Duro, it's not just the Casio Duro that does that, the other watches too. But that's the first thing that hits me with the Casio Duro. Now, of course, okay, so it's getting a little bit difficult to follow for Peter C. Thanks for letting me know there. Well, that's the thing about the Casio Duro for me, and this is not helping either. This is really occupying so much of the space, and everything else seems to be like a not a homage, but a real direction towards the dive watch aesthetics. So it's really not as special to me. Maybe if it's like in a different colorway, it would attract my attention. Or the blue, yeah, like what Junior Johnson said. Maybe the blue one would be a little bit better. Let's see that. Blue Casio Duro. Maybe that one's like a little better. Ah, yes. Okay. Now that's a little bit more interesting. Look at this one. This one looks interesting right here. There. Well, the texture made it interesting, I guess. That's the good one about that. And it actually attracts your attention. It moves away from the busyness of the dial. It ironically by making it a little bit more busier, but it does look very much of an improvement. Okay, we have a few things here going on. I don't know what these people are saying. Okay, let's move back now. Now let's answer a few viewer questions from the comments section that we had. There's like a ton of comments that lately, and I haven't had the time to really talk about them. There was one comment about the Tag Heuer Monaco, and it was who was it that mentioned that? Oh, well, James Bond. Yes, James Bond actually asked, "Can you look into the new Monaco that was updated?" And back in the time, it was the I don't remember the reference number, but it's this one, that the Monaco with the bracelet on. Let's just remove some of these. There we are. Now, I don't know really what to think of this at the moment, and at the moment, I really avoided talking about this Monaco because I really don't know what to feel of it. And let me just remove some of these comments. Whoa, it really is choppy. Hmm. Okay, so let's talk about this for a while. Not for a while. Let's try and talk about it really quick. The good thing about this is the bracelet maintains some sort of uniform linearity to it. Right? Look at this. It's squarish, squarish here, squarish there, square, square. And you could see that everywhere in the watch. Everywhere. Look at this. Squared, squared. I love that. I actually like that. It has a personality that it really tries to be, well, square. Yeah? It is a square watch before, but the other models of the Monaco didn't have such a personality. Now it's even more elevated or heightened to a degree because of this bracelet here. And not only that, if I remember correctly, even the subdials didn't used to be like this squarish linearity to it. Look at this. This is all in one line. I don't recall the Monacos having such a design language, right? Let's try and confirm that. Monaco. That. Ah, you see? We have them in the corners here. That looks different when compared to this one. This one has like all of the linear um, markers on the top and the bottom. That's actually so it's actually really in the Monaco already, but it was heightened even more in that particular model right there. You could see it. It's very clear because of the subdial also, and I love this. This is also like in the same linear plane, the automatic. That's also something that we designers like. Whenever it's like actually in the same alignment with the other features of the watch. So actually, this is a very nice iteration of the Monaco. And if I recall correctly, this is also the first Monaco to have like a steel bracelet. And indeed, that's something that really elevates it a little bit more. Maybe in the future they'll come up with other bracelets, but it's a good one. However, it should not we should not take away that the iconic Monaco um, setup or not layout or yeah setup is always with the leather perforated bands. That's always like the iconic Monaco style that we all knew, and this does not replace that, unfortunately. Yes, people here are commenting Nello 50 to 80. Yes, the blue dial makes a big improvement, and actually, like it really does. It's getting me sold on the Duro now. I like the Duro in blue, but it just seems a little bit too big. Well, how big is the Monaco? When the Monaco, the Duro, how big was that? Let's see something in Amazon. How big is the Duro? I don't see it. Oh, 44 millimeters. That is big. I need to see it in person. I have a small wrist, so that's really not gonna fly with me. 44. That's a little bit too big. I mean, 42 is already pushing it at some in some degree. I also wanted to talk about a little bit about micro brands. Micro brands this year made like a, a long stride towards progression. And if you look closely at my collection at the moment, we have quite a few micro brands. Well, basically just two micro brands if we're talking about here. First off, we have the R3 Zelos here. This is the first one that Elshan Tang sent us for to review. It's the Horizon 2. This one is 39 millimeters. You can see it's rather small. And one commenter commented that maybe the sizing is a little bit off for my wrist, but for my 6 and 1/4 inch wrist, it's quite nice and it's quite comfortable. I don't see that it's really protruding that much, but I like it enough. And the bezels always like Zealous bezels is really one of the best in the industry. If I'm not sponsored to say that, of course, but I really feel that. Maybe I am inexperienced with more bezels, but comparing that to other bezels that I've handled and knowing how Submariner's bezel feels like, this is like really top quality. And then we have like the biggest dive watch I've had. This is like the 42 millimeters. This is like hefty, thick. This is the swordfish, and it's really light. That's the thing that we cannot show you on camera unless I come up with a scale. Maybe I'll buy one sometime. But it's really light. The titanium is something to really feel in person. But more importantly, this look at this. Look at the color. There's like a little tinge of darkness there. I love how titanium, this is grade 2 titanium if I'm not mistaken. Grade 2 titanium looks in person. And this one is also very finely satinized. It reflects light very nicely. And look at this, look at this. Look at how that forms and to your contours of your wrist. That's That's really, really nice. And there's something to look forward to because Elchan is developing something uh, truly unique that we've never seen yet in the industry. It's like a steel bracelet, but with a bronze uh, plating on top. That's something, and we've seen it in the Facebook groups. We want to see it in person. Hopefully, we can review that in the future. And of course, we have the red black tip. I've seen it before. I put it in this very cheap NATO strap, but changing straps on a Zillows is pretty easy, especially with that dual spring bar setup that they have. It's really convenient, and you could actually save money from that because you just need to buy straps, and that's all you need to do, right? And of course, I have my Long Island watch, the Yachtmaster homage. I still like this, and I actually wanted to have the Red October one because they had like the polished center links, which is something that I really admire. I still have the Yachtmaster as my grail, but this is close enough. And actually, I'm being won over by the sterile dial that we have here. The seconds is being silvery and not red is also something that uh, I'm starting to enjoy more than the because the red October just looks too close to the Yacht Master, and I guess it's still a dream of mine to see that. But that's something that changed in me for this year. It really opened my eyes on micro brands. I initially didn't have much of a comment for or against micro brands because I do understand where they're coming from. They wanted to start up their own thing, and whenever you read or hear them saying we're trying to disrupt the whole watch industry, it's starting to get old and stale. But I understand where they're going. They're trying to market their brand. But man, the quality that can be had compared to what Seiko is delivering us is unheard of for the same and even cheaper. Seiko's not is also something that I didn't like in 2020 is when Seiko started to ramp up their prices and the quality remained the same. I know there's like a lot of Seiko fanboys there, and I am one in a way. I've handled Seikos in the past, but we cannot deny that the quality and the materials that they use and the materials that the micro brands are now using is far uh, outclass that of Seiko's, and that's something that's I find that's could have been better. It's just that okay, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth stream. Okay, let's try and look for one more interesting point, and then we'll close out the stream. Whoa, that is maintain smooth streaming. It seems that there's a lot of buffering happening at the moment. Okay, but we have one more thing to talk about. Let's try and bring up our my iPad once again. Okay. So Andrew Hannum suggested in the comments, what about Zurich watches? If we look at Zurich watches, I find that it is one of the most interesting micro brands that we can talk about. And the thing I like about Zurich is that they've been they've been focusing on interesting dials that someone could buy at a budget. If we look at Urberg, if we look at Alangan Suna and other high horology watches with interesting complications and dials, we're talking about upwards to 50 and $100,000 easy. But we cannot spend as much as a mortgage for something that we wear on our wrists. Well, most of us won't. So what Zer came up with is that they made stuff that is interesting. That's most of the time under $1,000. Let's just look at their watches and let's see what they can offer. We've seen these um, retrograde setups from them, but it's really just a clever mechanism. I'll show you in a bit. But look at this, the Atlas Sphere. The Atlas Sphere is just a clever take on your usual dial. You just print the numbers on the crystal and then show a really deeply contrasting hand underneath it, like that circle, that lollipop hand. See that? You see there, it's also balanced out. That creates a contrast under the numerals that's printed on the on the crystal, which is interesting. It's really like highlighting the numerals as the hand, the minute hand passes through, passes under. It's really interesting. It doesn't really take so much to engineer that, you know? It's really just reprinting. The same concept we can see here. What is this? This is the cipher automatic. It doesn't want to, okay. But the cipher automatic is the same. Instead of printing the dial on the dial, it just has this sandwich dial on top of the hands. And the hands are, of course, like um, colored only at the tip to highlight the number or the numerals, which is interesting. But then they have like other here, like the retrograde ones that they've been famous for. Let's see if I could like get that up. Yes. Now this is just an illusion for many of us. As the hands pass through from the 10, another one at the other end that's really covered is either shorter or longer, and that would align with the outer or inner gradations of the dial, which is interesting. And again, that's also just a design cue that you don't really need to change the movement altogether. You don't really need to re-engineer the watch to have that same effect. The latest one that I liked is the Vendetta. Let's go back to, oops, not Lumo Fusion. Let's go back to our, right here. The Vendetta uses the satellite numerals. Satellite numerals are numerals that are connected at the very tips of the hands. And in this setup, it's a Y setup. And every time it passes through the dial, it registers the hour for that particular scene. So here it's like 2:30. That's how you're going to read this dial. So whenever this 2 passes, or whatever the other satellite hand passes through the top,